Okay, so this is another introductory screencast explaining how to carry out effective characterization in descriptive writing. We're going to do that by looking at an excellent example of some student work. What we're going to do first of all is take a look through the piece in one smooth reading. Then we'll come back and look at some of the features that I've identified that mark it out as really high quality description. Now the prompt for this piece of writing is to describe a character from any form of experience being held at gunpoint. Now, the student here has chosen Daisy Buchanan from The Great Gatsby, and the intent here is to try and reveal the nature of her character, but without explaining this, but suggesting it through characterization. So let's take a look at this once through. Daisy's attention was entirely devoted to the close observation of the elaborate, lively green banknotes. Her face was an image of childish happiness, as she caressed the smooth money between her perfectly manicured fingers. "Give me everything you got, now, quickly." She turned around seamlessly and naturally, half expecting to see her husband or a friend. It took her various seconds to become conscious of the situation. Then her bright red, glossy nails dug deep into the banknotes and her face blanched. "Please don't take my money. I'm Daisy Buchanan. There would be consequences." The thief's expression ridiculed her. "I know people, all of them," she added. He grabbed the money, then walked away. I think we can all agree that it's a really fantastic piece of writing, but now I just want to take you through, step by step, through a number of details that I think will make it very, very clear why this is a successful piece of description. So first of all, the thing I've highlighted here, number one, Daisy's attention was entirely devoted to the close observation. This is a dramatic verb. And it's not just a dramatic verb for the sake of being a dramatic verb, it's a dramatic verb that reveals an awful lot about Daisy's character. If someone is devoted to the close observation of the elaborate lively green banknotes, it's revealing her materialism. It's a fantastic lexical choice, a choice of words. This second section I've highlighted is effectively this entire sentence. The close observation of the elaborate, lively green banknotes. This is a really excellent piece of characterization through action. And what's it revealing to us? That she is transfixed by money. She's transfixed by wealth and obsessed with it. Because what we've got here is her actions revealing her personality. Now, within this fantastic description of action is another feature of excellent description, and what we've got here is what we would call a sensory noun phrase. What is she looking at? She's looking at the lively green banknotes. And it's sensory because we're talking about here visual features, visual sensory adjectives paired up with a tangible noun, something physically that exists in the world. And it gives you a very, very clear, vivid, sensory understanding of the scene that's taking place in front of us. We're going to jump down here now to 4. Her face was an image of childish happiness as she caressed the smooth money between her perfectly manicured fingers. Now there's two things going on here. There's characterization through action and appearance. In both of these places, the caressing the smooth money. What we've got within that is the dramatic verb, again, telling us about her obsession with wealth and her superficiality. Her perfectly manicured fingers, again, is a really telling, subtle detail in this piece of description because it's obviously revealing to us that she is A, concerned about her image, and B, probably has an enormous amount of wealth and free time to obsess over small details of her image like this. So within that small sentence, there's an enormous amount being communicated about her character. Before we move on, I did want to focus on briefly childish happiness, because although this is a fantastic piece of descriptive writing, it isn't perfect, particularly with the focuses that we're choosing to select at the moment. What I would say, though, is that this is not what we would call a sensory noun phrase. It is an emotional adjective paired with an abstract noun. It's the complete opposite of a sensory noun phrase. However, what you will find is if you limit yourself entirely to these sensory noun phrases, you get a very restrained, emotionally sterile piece of writing. So think of this type of description as something that earns you the right to describe the emotive or internal life of the characters. This is revealing the emotional state of the character through an emotional noun phrase, a childish happiness. These work, but only sparingly, and you still need to make these type of descriptions based on physical sensory detail the bulk of what you do when you're writing. Now, the next feature is again some excellent characterization through action. So here, she turned around seamlessly and naturally, half expecting to see her husband or a friend. Now what you've got again here is this visual detail. She turned around seamlessly and naturally. I think you could even polish this slightly more by changing turning around into a single dramatic verb. But the adjectives here, seamlessly and naturally, really do give us a sense, I think, of the way in which she appears to be naive. She appears to not have any sense at all that anything could be wrong. She lives in a dream world. That's why she turns around seamlessly and naturally. Now, what you'll see again, though, is that there is actually a bit of explanation within this. Half expecting to see her husband or a friend, we're being given some internal experience of the character. Now, in this particular context, that's okay because we've been presented with a very precise visual detail first. And this is what you have to keep considering, is earn your right to be emotional. Be physical and concrete first, and then be emotional and explain the feelings of the characters. Further than this, a little further down the page, it took her various seconds to become conscious of the situation. Then her bright red glossy nails dug deep into the banknotes and her face blanched. Now there's a number of reasons why this is fantastic. Her bright red glossy nails. We're looking at the character here through a very small feature of her appearance. The appearance is an important one. The thing that we're being given as her appearance is an important feature. We're being given something that almost is symbolic of vanity, I think, in this particular context. That bright red glossy nails are completely at odds with the reality of the situation. This is a feature of someone who obviously takes a great deal of care over their appearance, and they're now being placed in this situation where, you know, they need to be kind of practical and have a bit of street kind of intelligence. So there's something almost kind of painfully ironic about this particular description. In terms of linguistic features, bright red glossy nails is a very clear sensory noun phrase. Dug deep into the banknotes and her face blanched is characterization again, now through action. But it's very, very close up. It's close up on the body. It's showing us, it's focusing on a very small feature, and it's always better to go in closer detail than it is to be too far away, because you can tell a lot of story by just describing the way people move in very small, close-up detail. This is particularly successful because it's built around dramatic verbs. Dug, which is the corrected form of this in the past tense, and blanched. Now this is effective, but this verb is particularly effective because there's a kind of figurative component to this that we can very clearly see being represented here is the draining of blood from her face. But what we're being able to work out here is that she's terrified. But that single dramatic verb that has a figurative component here is revealing that emotional state of the character. What's also excellent here is the characterization through dialogue. And if we just shuffle down a little way, we'll be able to see it a little more closely. So one of the things that's really excellent about this particular dialogue is how well this particular student has internalized the voice of Daisy Buchanan. Please don't take my money. I'm Daisy Buchanan. There would be consequences. There is an inflated sense of self-importance here in this dialogue that's being revealed, not at all by explanation, but through the words that are chosen themselves in the dialogue. The dialogue is revealing the nature of this person's character. And then finally, number 9 is another example of dialogue, but in this particular case, there's a real skillful choice of a manner of speaking that reveals an inflated, juvenile sense of self-importance and a sense of naivety. I know people, all of them, and that dialogue choice there is giving us a really clear example of that sense of naivety and the inflated self-importance. So under the pressure of this particular situation of being held at gunpoint, we are being given a really vivid, clear picture of a superficial character, someone who takes an enormous amount of interest in their own appearance, who is vain, who is conceited, and who is probably very covetous. They're very focused on acquiring material wealth. All of that through a really confident handling of the characterization techniques that we've been focusing on in class. So well done.